I'm not gonna lie, I see what the hype is about. I'm fried. I'm about to trade in all of my brain cells.
Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 158. It is the third day of the week, aka the Psycho Crusher workout. Almost forgot it. On the way to the gym right now, a little bit later than I wanted it to be, but hey, it happens. At least I'm going, so that is all that really matters, right? I'm feeling pretty good though. But besides that, on to the main subject matter for today. TikTok trends. Now, I wanted to do particularly TikTok because it usually starts then progresses into the other social medias, basically. If it's a long-lasting trend, quote-unquote, usually the stupider ones start there, and that is why the subject matter as to why it came up today. And that was because of the current trend, or this was a trend about a week ago now. It'll probably be a month ago by the time this actually gets released, and hopefully hasn't been memory hold, so that's why I wanted to keep this going. Haha, funny how that works, right? But anyways, committing check fraud. That was the newest trend, which was interesting that it was a thing that was happening currently, as people don't realize that you can commit check fraud easily. It's kind of crazy. For those who may not know, basically there was a video that came out where a guy was noticed that Chase Bank in particular would front the entirety of the check that they would put in. So they ended up just falsifying a few checks and then cashing out all of the money that they could from an ATM using that little hack. But the thing is, it's a bank, so they're gonna get their money. They know who you are. Not only that, but people are recording themselves doing this, so it's even worse. And it's already a thing called bank fraud. God forbid any of these people watch that thing about Gilbert Arenas committing credit card fraud, which is also an issue. But hey, well, let's not discuss that now because that might be a trend. But I guess the reason why I wanted to talk about this was not because of the banks, not because of who owns the banks, none of that stuff, but more so because of the idea that something went so crazy viral. I hate that word, by the way. That'll be a whole other subject for a whole other day, but it was so popular so quick and so suddenly that it became a thing, and then it became instantaneously not a thing, obviously, but so quick that it was like the beginning and the end all told within maybe like a weekend. And it's kind of crazy that things happen like that, in particular the virality of certain things and how certain trends, like a litmus test to see how retarded a person can be. I don't mean that in a light way. I really do think it's like a Darwinism test to see who can be as stupid as they can be in order to do something as like follow a trend. I think there was a guy who made like no shit October or something like that, where it was like not taking a shit. Obviously, if you are smart, you could realize that it is a satire, but for some reason people don't realize that it's satire, and then all of a sudden they have tried to do something which is flagrantly stupid, and also you're just making it so the population goes a little less. Hopefully you don't breed, but that's a whole other subject for a whole other day. Probably won't. The main reason I wanted to talk about this is just that it's so crazy to me that there are things like this that happen just straight up like, oh, let's just commit crimes. And this isn't even like, this is almost regular, if that makes any sense. There are so many random things that end up becoming trends that end up just either ruining people's lives or making people randomly rich, which makes absolutely zero sense. You have the entire dancing thing, but we'll probably get that one in the voiceover because, yeah. It's very astonishing that this can even happen, / that there were so many people without any knowledge of how banks work. You know that what they're doing is just a crime, period. That's like, people should already know that this was a crime, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how this even got to that point where it was like, it became a trend. There is a reason why I wanted to bully on TikTok particularly. We'll talk about that on the inside, I feel like. But for now, I'll say this. Please do not commit check fraud. The people in the bank will always get your information because it's certain people at the bank that will know who you are, and trust me, They are not the type of people that you want to fuck with because they want their money, and the bank will always get their money. Unfortunately, just look at who controls the banks. But anyways, I will talk more about the other things that I've seen as TikTok trends. You remember they used to eat Tide Pods? That was a thing for a while there. We'll talk about more stuff like that on the inside. Alright, so started this day off with V-bar tricep pushdowns, which were pretty good, and they felt great. And so, to get back to the main subject matter at hand, since this entire video has come up, it's hilarious that there was another trend that came up, which is at the beginning of this video, which is the Galaxy Gas thing, which... oh my god, it's so funny that I made this where I was like, check fraud is pretty bad. Now people, or at least high schoolers, are getting high off of nitrous oxide, which I didn't even think was still a thing, honestly. I genuinely was like, holy shit, this is a thing? And it still is a thing? I was honestly genuinely shocked that people still get high off of nitrous oxide. I genuinely did not know that that was a thing still. I always thought in my brain that people ended up watching that Steve-O documentary that came out a few years back about this stuff, that just like deterred a crap ton of people of doing it. That, and also just like what we know about it, because it literally just stops your brain from functioning for a second or two, or even longer depending, which is just insane to even think about, but people still do it. And then it became popular amongst like teenagers. Like, what the fuck? That is insane. And also, why? What the hell happened? I may not be too culturally knowledgeable, I would say. Maybe I didn't know that whippets were still a thing, but still that it became such a mass thing and then so easily gettable right after that they just sell them in giant packs at Walmart. It's kind of fucking crazy. It's astonishing to me. I think seeing somebody throw their life away like Steve-O did, thankfully he repaired it, but seeing someone go down that rabbit hole of whippets is insane, especially when you hear some of the things that he's saying while high. It's like, what the fuck is this person dealing with? You know, it's kind of crazy. So that's just like one of the things that just popped up while this video was in process of making, which is kind of insane. We haven't even touched on other subjects. Like, for example, I'll give one that happened a few years back, which was the Tide Pods. I mentioned it briefly in the car, but the Tide Pods were a huge fucking deal. They had to get fucking Gronk to tell people to stop eating Tide Pods, for the love of God. And I mean, I get it, it's colorful, but what the fuck? That's another thing that's also insane that people were eating, you know? Another thing that people were eating that was also insane was NyQuil on chicken, because they liked the color or something like that. I don't even remember what the reasoning behind the NyQuil on chicken was, but that was a thing for a little bit, and people were also getting hospitalized for that too, because for some reason I don't even understand what the hell the point would be to put NyQuil on chicken. It's not even like NyQuil tastes good. This is just a very particular thing that they wanted to do. I don't understand. Those are just like 3 examples of things where you can tell that the Darwinism is happening, where there is something wrong with those who are getting these videos. You can't let these people be on the internet. This is the exact people we should probably get off the internet, honestly. But that's a whole other story for a whole other day. For now, I'll say this, and this is going back a little bit on a different part of TikTok, because this is just TikTok trends, and this is more so along the lines of the fitness realm when it comes to TikTok, because there is a whole other section of TikTok where they talk about steroid use and abuse, and that is quite genuinely insane that there's an entire part of a platform that talks about just like basically drug use. Now there are also like many other things like that that are around and stuff, but the thing is that's very interesting about this to me, and I guess I'll just loop it back to the gym, because this is technically a gym channel, but not really. But basically, it's just that there are places out there where they're just glorifying these things for millions of views, and then you see it. And I think that's the main thing that disturbs me about short content platforms such as TikTok and such, is where you can gain so little knowledge in so little time, and all of a sudden you are glorifying something that should not be glorified at all, like whippets or even just eating Tide Pods.
And there are some things that are satire. Obviously, you know, they're relatively predictable and or you can tell when it's satire, but there are some people that are genuine. And those who are genuine, it's kind of like, oh my god, you're not passing the Darwinism test. You're gonna die early. And that goes for a lot of these things that get popularized on these platforms and such. It really does suck that there are a lot of people that end up being influenced by these things, hence the term influencer. But it really does suck that they are on these platforms and have the audience that they do, because realistically these people should not be doing this or telling these people to do any of this. The satire is understandable, I get that, that's funny, but if done incorrectly, people will believe the satire, and that is so horrible because, you know, nobody lies on the internet. That's the fun part, but it's such a seesaw, 50-50 depending on where it's going and where it's at. It really does suck that we have to deal with this type of thing now, because there's so many, quite frankly, stupid people on the internet, that we can't have any more fun with things now. It seems as though everything has to be kind of like, hey, this is a joke. We have to warn people now that things aren't real, because people will take things immediately serious. And then all of a sudden, that's where you get fucking kids doing nitrous oxide in the middle of class and literally fainting because they don't have any power to their brain for half a second.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed. None. Exercises skipped. Also none. Got everything in today. I am on my way back home. It's a little later than I wanted it to be, but hey, these things happen on the way home, and pretty tired, but it is what it is. Got everything in, so that's all that really matters. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand. This entire subject matter is just kind of like a test to see who is stupid enough to follow along. I don't mean that very lightly. I feel like there are so many people that are so gullible out there to do so many of these dumb, idiotic things. I mean, even the fucking dances are like, alright, you're just gonna go embarrass yourself in front of fucking a bunch of people in public. I get it, I understand it, but I also am like, Jesus, man, like, what are people doing in order to get a modicum of fame, you know? The selling out to immediate trends to do whatever they can just so they can get popular doing something that they don't really care to do, but they just want the fame, notoriety, and what they presume is the money right after. But realistically, how many of these people actually capitalize on the quote fame that they get in a timely manner, and or if not, aren't just pigeonholed into the one thing that you became popular for on social media, like happens to most social media, viral people that get famous for one little thing. The most popular one that came about during the summer was that Hawk Tua girl, which who fucking knows what happened to her, but she did something. I don't know. I think she capitalized on the money, but still, that's like a flash in the pan. You're going to explode in popularity and then absolutely nothing, and then probably a year from now or 6 months from this video appearing will be her debut on OnlyFans and or Fansly. You can count on it. Because the thing about it is that because of the fact that they got popular so quick, they will go for anything that's a cash grab afterwards if they are into the popularity and addiction that comes with the entire needing validation through clicks and all that other stuff, as well as other things like getting rich quick, you know, all these other things that seem too good to be true. Most of the time it is. There's only very rarely a time where it's all right, but most of the time it's like a deal that's very cut short. That's about it. That's the best you'll get, is like a little bit of a, oh, you can just kind of do this to like exploit a system or two, and you might get away with it, but realistically most of the time, by the time that it gets popular, they've already patched it, so you kind of have to be on the cutting wave of something like that. But even then, don't be stupid enough to try to steal from fucking banks. I mean, if you don't fuck with the IRS, the banks are like IRS on steroids, basically. You're not winning by a long shot, so why even try to mess with that shit? But it is what it is, and people are kind of stupid, so be careful what you consume out there. And also, if you have other people to try to consume that, catch somebody that you know watching those things and thinking about doing it, just tell them no and slightly put them down for the stupidity that they are displaying. Just bring them down gently into reality. But with that being said, Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this. This is such a random subject matter, but it was something that happens and it's just gonna keep happening regardless until either TikTok gets banned or just gonna keep going, because not even deaths will stop these viral things, because there's so many that have probably already happened because of one or two things, few things, that it's just gonna keep going no matter what. There's just, next it's gonna be who can hold their breath the longest underwater or some shit like that. You can breathe underwater challenge or some shit like that. Something stupid. And it's gonna get at least like 2 people killed. With that being said though, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Please stay safe out there. Keep it heavy. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.